Hello, math students. Today we're going to be doing lesson 10-2. We're going to learn how to solve linear equations algebraically. This might be one of the most important skills you can have heading into algebra as freshmen in high school. We're going to be focusing a lot on learning target number 2 here. The second one, we're going to solve linear equations with variables on both sides of the equation using the distributive property to help collect like terms and to solve. Important note here, anything I write down on the screen, you need to make sure you write down on your paper. So please make sure you're following along and getting all this into your notes. Let's start by taking a look at example A. So whenever we have variables on both sides, you can see we have an x term here on the left. We also have an x term there on the right. We want to isolate the variable and get it to be only on one side. There are 4 steps that it takes. So the first step here, if I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this equation, 12x plus 5 is going to be equal to 6x plus 17. So step number 1, we're going to use inverse operations to combine the variables to one side of the equation only. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract, after I draw my balance line, I'm going to subtract 6x to the right to get rid of that 6x over there. And then you have to do the same thing to the other side. Rewrite our new equation after step 1, and we have the equation 6x plus 5 equals to 17 now, because these 6x's are gone. That's step 1. In step 2, go ahead and rewrite your equation. If you need to pause at any point in this to catch up, if I'm going too fast, just press pause and you can always stay along that way. So now, step 2, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So subtract 5 from the left and subtract 5 from the right. And we get our new equation now just to be 6x equal sign in the middle. 17 minus 5 is 12. That's step number 2. And then finally, the big one on step number 3, once we have the equation 6x equals to 12, we're going to divide both sides by 6 here. Always use inverse operations whenever you're trying to solve an equation. Always use inverse operations. So 6 and x are multiplied together. The inverse operation of that is division. You divide by 6. And that will leave you with your final answer, which is x is equal to 2. Always a good idea to go ahead and check your solution by plugging it into the original equation. So if we plug in 2 into x there, and we plug in 2 into x there, both the left and the right side of your equations should be equal to each other. Okay, let's take a look at a couple examples here real quick. So for the first example, we want to solve this variable for x. Again, make sure you're getting all this with me. If you need to press pause, you can. You can start by first drawing your balance line down the middle. Have plenty of room here. So the first step that we're going to do is I'm actually going to subtract 6x to both sides because I want to get rid of this 6x. I don't want an x on both the left and the right, so I'm going to get rid of that 6x over there. And then that's gone. So I just have 7 equal sign in the middle. 13 plus, let's see, 7x minus 6x. That's just 1x or x. Then next thing I'm going to do for this is I'm going to get the x by itself. I need to subtract 13. Subtract 13. And we'll get, let's see, 1x or just x over here because those are gone again. Equals to 7 minus 13 integers, that's negative 6. Circle that final answer. Right now, you go ahead and press pause, and I want you to do 1b, which is very similar to 1a on your own. Go ahead and press pause. Okay, number 2. Again, number 2, very similar to number 1. We have y variables on both sides of the equation here. So what we're going to do first to get the y to only one side is we're going to subtract y to the left and y to the right. This is just one way to do it. I like to keep my y variables, my variable terms, positive. So when we do that, those y's are gone. You just have negative 15 equals to 4y minus 1y is 3y minus 3. Next step is we're going to add 3 to both sides to get the y by itself. You have to add 3, new equation, 3y, those 3's are gone, equals to negative 15 plus 3, that's negative 12. Divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. You should get y equals to positive 12 divided by negative 3 will give you a negative 12 divided by positive 3 gives you y equals to negative 4. Press pause and do 2b on your own. Okay, number 3. Number 3 here, this one's a little different because you'll notice we have 2 x terms on the left side of the equation. We need to first combine like terms here together. So when you have negative 1x plus 4x, that combines to be 3x. So it's 3x plus 2 equals to 8 minus 3x. Okay, so now again we're back to having variables on both sides. I like to keep my x terms positive, so balance line. I'm going to add 3x here to get rid of that 3x and move it over to this side. Plus 3x here. So the new equation, 3x plus 3x is 6x plus 2 is equal to 8. Now we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 to the left and subtract 2 to the right. And that gives us 6x is equal to 6. Well, now we're on our last step. Inverse operation is to divide by 6. Divide by 6, and that should give you x is equal to 1. Make sure you have all that worked out, and then go ahead and do 3b on your own. Number 4. Number 4, here notice we have some decimals, and we also have the distributive property. So on number 4, the first step we're going to have to do is to distribute that 2. So draw an arrow from the 2 to the x, and the 2 to the 7, and then the 6 to the x, and the 6 to the... We're going to distribute this and rewrite this without the distributive property. So this might require a calculator if your teacher allows it. So first we have, hold on real quick, let me change colors here. We're going to go 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 0.7 or 7/10 is 1.4 equals to 6 times x is 6x. And 6 times a negative, careful that negative sign here, 6 times is 4.8. Okay. Now again, after we do distributive property, we have variables on both sides. We got to get the variable to only one side. So we can go ahead and first thing we're going to do here is we're going to subtract 2x minus 2x. So those 2x's are gone. We just have 1.4 left on the left side. 6x minus 2x is 4x. Minus 4.8. To get the x by itself, we're going to have to add 4.8 to both sides. Remember, we're always isolating the variable here. Get the variable by itself. So our new equation then, 6.2 is equal to 4x. Divide both sides by 4. Divide by 4. And we get x equals to 1.55. That's number 4. Go ahead and press pause and do number 4b on your own. And the last one, number 5. Distribute property with fractions this time. So we're going to distribute the 1/2 to the 18x and the 1/2 to the negative 8. So when we do that, we're going to get 9. Let me get my colors right here again. 9x. Half of 18 is 9, so 9x. Half of 8 is 4. equals to, this side will stay the same, minus 7/2. Okay, variables on both sides. I'm going to subtract 6x to the right. Get my new equation, which then over here is going to be 3x minus 4 equals to negative 7/2. Okay. And we're going to add 4 to both sides. To get 3x equals to, let's see, 7/2. Let me do this work over on the side for those of us who don't have calculators. So 7/2 is the same thing as, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 3.5. 3.5. So it's really 3.5 plus 4. No, this is a negative 3.5. Negative 3.5 plus 4 will just leave us then with a half, or 0.5. Either way you want to think about it. To get the x by itself, we have the inverse operation here, divide both sides by 3. So it's either 0.5 divided by 3 or half divided by 3, which really just means then that you're doing, let's see, 1/2 divided by 3. So we know the rule is same, change, flip. 1/2 times 1/3, it should be 1/6. So x is going to equal 1/6. Press pause, do number 5B on your own, and make sure you complete the IXL and the exit ticket before you leave. Thanks for listening.